All right, well, I'd like to welcome back Alec Gilliam. He brings some amazing insights, especially with a lot of the young entrepreneurs with which he works. Oftentimes they're moving fast, they're reinvesting aggressively, and there's a lot of assumptions that, hey, we'll figure it out later when we have time. And given his work with a lot of Y Combinator founders and other early stage operators, he's going to reframe some financial planning in regard to some of the risk management, distribution planning, some of the decision clarity frameworks, and then in addition to wealth accumulation, just kind of help explaining both the math and the mindset for founders. And so, Alec, when we look at that, I know that we chatted last time about some of the key things that you observe, but as you think about it, and with some of the folks that you're working with, what are some of those healthy money mindset and habits that you see with the folks who are doing it well? And where are there some gaps that others may be demonstrating as well?
Yeah, and it starts exactly where you said with how the founders often treat their own personal finances as, oh, I'll figure that out later. Like if the company's successful, then we can cross that bridge when it comes to it. But there's a lot of planning that goes behind that to make sure that they're on track for their business and personal goals. And one of those first key habits to just get used to is knowing where your personal finances stand. And one of those things could be considered knowing your personal runway. So knowing if you're not paying yourself, how long can you survive off your savings? Can you lower your personal expenses? Or do you have any other side incomes coming in that are funding your lifestyle so that you're not stressed out while you're making business decisions on a personal financial basis? A lot of founders just start off with this mindset of, I'm bad with money and money is something that I'll outsource. And there often is times to outsource portions of your planning, but instead they should treat it like money is a skill that they're actively learning. And one of those habits to start learning is, if you're not paying yourself, know your personal runway, know your expenses. And if you are paying yourself, make sure you're paying yourself, even if it's small, just a consistent amount instead of just giving yourself a lump sum whenever maybe your business has a good month of revenue. You want to make sure you're just giving yourself a consistent amount so that you're used to it and you understand what's coming in the door and what's going out of the door each month.
And as well, what are some of the ideas that you come across and that you share with when they have excess capital? What are some of the ways that they can optimize that?
Yeah, so we just talked about the personal side. Now you're talking about exactly on the business side. You kind of want to know the same things. You want to know what is your business burn and if there is excess capital that's not going to be deployed within the next year or so. What are you doing with that excess capital to make sure that you're not sit there just losing to inflation risk? And knowing your monthly burn is traditionally pretty easy. Like you just need to know what your expenses are, and then from there you can calculate your runway. So if you've got $1.2 million in the bank and your monthly burn is $100,000 a month for your salaries, expenses, other things, then you've got 12 months of runway. Now, if all of a sudden you can half your monthly burn because maybe you have some unnecessary expenses going out the door to 50,000, now you've got 24 months of runway. Because we find that often when founders raise, they might raise and then spend to the bank account rather than spend it rationally. So they might spend it on unnecessary hiring decisions or trying to look the part. So maybe upgrading their business lifestyle, like getting a new fancy office, a company car, whatever it might be, instead of using it more wisely. So instead, if you can lower your expenses now to 50,000 per month and give yourself 2 whole years of runway, there's going to be some capital that you don't need to deploy for those 2 years. You can use that capital in more strategic ways, whether it be an investment or even just getting some interest on it, so that you might be able to extend that runway even more in the future.
Absolutely. I know we've chatted before about some of the things around some of the tax sensitive types of accounts where some of the accounts can still be having a growth profile on them. Obviously not guaranteed, but it is something where they can have a growth profile and also have some real tax sensitivity around it, so it's not inviting capital gains tax beating on some of those funds that may be waiting for use for the next year out.
Right. It's like you want to tranche your money, your capital in your company. You want to have, how's my monthly burn going to change over time? So if I have the next 3 months of expenses at 50,000 and then I need to make another hiring decision at that milestone as a founder, then you would need to allot that next tranche of money for that period of time. And then you might have some semi-long-term money that you can invest conservatively, whether it be in CDs, bonds, or structured products. And then, like you said, you could have that longer term bucket that then is in tax sensitive advisory accounts that could make significantly more and still maintain some safety with diversification.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things we've seen with the structured products, where they can have a significant amount of upside participation, in some cases even enhanced participation, which is acting like a bonus return if they clear certain thresholds in some cases, but can also have a floor on the downside as a safety net, so that way folks don't have the free fall with other invested money, but can have some nice principal protection on that as well through either full principal protection or buffers or barriers. Well, you also mentioned as well the idea of having a simple money rhythm. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, having a simple money rhythm is going to involve multiple things happening at different rates. So, for instance, I would suggest founders are just more comfortable with visiting their financial situation very frequently. Like on a weekly basis, maybe just checking your statements, seeing like making sure that everything's happening that's you're expecting to happen, like your expenses and stuff like that. So having kind of a weekly rhythm just to like keep a check on everything. And then a monthly rhythm to make sure that, okay, my monthly burn was expected to be this, was it actually this? And then on the personal side as well, make sure that you're still on pace, or if you need to adjust your math. Because like I said, if you thought your monthly burn was going to be 50,000, that gives you 2 months of runway if you got 1.2 million in the bank. But if all of a sudden that month it was 100,000 and then you're expecting that to continue because maybe you forgot about some things, then now you've only got 1 year. So that changes your game plan a little bit. And then I would say when you're working with financial professionals like us, having a quarterly or a semi-annual rhythm to actually review the entire game plan and update any developments that might have happened over the last quarter or year to make sure, hey, we planned all these scenarios out, but something's changed. How do we pivot? What do we need to do in the plan? Have we already accounted for this?
That's great feedback. And I think as well, part of what we see there is with a great and robust plan, it starts to look ahead across the short term, mid term, and long term. I know we use the comparison all the time. It's when those adjustments come, it shouldn't feel like the hard left at 90 miles an hour, but just a slight turning of the wheel as you're changing lanes, because all those ripple effects can be anticipated. Mm-hmm. Well, Alec, thanks for sharing some insights on the healthy money mindset and habits that you see from successful entrepreneurs. And we'd be glad to be a part of a conversation if you'd like to frame that out further for you and your own business.
Yeah. And like you said, if when we're going in the future into other things that might happen and planning those out, you want it to feel rehearsed. You want to know that like we've already planned for this scenario, and we want to make sure that when those scenarios do happen, whether it's good cases, bad cases, we want to make sure that we're ready for those.
Well, fantastic, Alec. Thank you for your insights.